This was uncommon teaching to them. But you know, many teachers find themselves between a rock and a hard place, agonizing as they follow orders from above, knowing the program they're using is really not helping their children. Uncommon teachers, though, who think of their child as their own, have to choose to defy policy if that policy gets in the way of helping the child grow. In February, Boyer wrote, "Tim is lying on the bench, hat wrinkled, his coat dirty, and empty beer can in his hand. He was sleeping under a newspaper, his holey pants catching the cold wind. He asked the man, 'Hey, you got $1 I can have?' The man just looked at him for a while. He looked away, not saying a word. By this time, his newspaper is wet. He ran under the tree, the cold wind blowing in his holey pants. His knees and the bottom of his coat was wet. He tries to find a dry spot, and he does, puts down his empty beer can, puts his wrinkled hat on his face, and went to sleep." Not great writing, but damn great improvement, huh? "Hey, Teach, I'm getting smarter," he said with a grin. That grin said it all for me. More so than any MCAS growth percentage profile stat. Next to Boyer sat Teddy. Smart, athletic, impossible. If in my English class I had the at-risk kids on the ball field, I had the losers. I took over a team that hadn't won the year before and not many games the last decade. Baseball players, like students, believed the labels. They were uninspired, unimaginative, safe, complacent. Well, Teddy was playing third base. I was pitching. "Come on, coach, fire it in there. Get the corner, coach." It was tryouts. I was a new coach, my first time outside, cold, dots of diminishing snowbanks, dirty along the heavily shaded areas, flurries in the air. As I wound to throw a pitch, my eye caught Teddy, a cigarette burning from his mouth. Yeah, dangling on that same lip that continued to voice hustle and encouragement for his new coach. "Teddy, you've got a butt in your mouth. Give me a lap." Dropping his glove, he begins running. I wind to throw another pitch, and I'm stopped by Boyer. He's laughing. He's dropped his bat. "Look at Teddy." Teddy's still running, jogging hard, butt in his mouth, lighted, little puffs following him. You know, I knew right then that teaching baseball was not my priority. Baseball had to become a tool to teach Teddy, the person. As I had to get my English students thinking like real scholars, I had to get my athletes thinking like real ball players. But it would not be easy. Teaching is a process, and learning takes some time. In fact, during one game early in the season, I noticed I didn't have a right fielder. "Where's Teddy?" I asked the players on the bench. They pointed to the foul pole where Teddy was relieving himself. Teddy was actually peeing while the pitcher threw, batters swung, fielders covered, all except, of course, for that right fielder. I whispered to the guys on the bench not to point or otherwise call attention to Teddy. I was embarrassed. Teddy wasn't. "Hey, when nature calls, coach," he said with a shrug. Well, Teddy was such a fine athlete that he was recruited out of the 8th grade to play ball for a private school in the area. But the same antics he revealed to me got him kicked out of that private school, landing him with me. Even though at the time I had really no idea how I was going to help him make better choices, I knew I was not going to get rid of him. I was not going to dismiss him. That's what we do in public schools. We invite everyone in. Unwittingly, though, institutional policy came to my and Teddy's and the team's rescue. When a team had home field advantage playing on the premier field in Worcester, there was a policy. The home team had to place a uniformed player in foul territory on the other side of a cyclone fence that stretched behind the visitor's dugout down the first baseline to retrieve any foul ball into that wooded area, rife with patches of poison ivy and strewn with urban litter. You know, I wonder sometimes if educators who create such rules for kids have any children of their own. I wonder if it's precisely these folk who contribute to the Teddys and Boyers of public education, Kids with attitude who show disdain for an absurd impersonal system that champions sameness, compartmentalization, routine, regulation. And so, some of our smartest and most gifted kids defy the service of a system whose metaphors emanate from the institutional handbook and the factory assembly line. Thus, they smoke during practice or relieve themselves in the middle of innings or refuse to show they can think, and they never show their feelings. Some, they pass school and graduate as part of their herd, like boot camp survivors, learning never to volunteer or offer a thought or an opinion. Many others, they drop out. We educational leaders delude ourselves into thinking that instituting programs or adopting a new textbook or a new set of common standards or a tougher end-of-the-year exam will improve student learning. The Teddys and the Boyers of the world do not suffer us fools well. They see the silliness for what it is and simply react with their own silliness. They are McMurphy in the cuckoo's nest, fighting institutionalization, realizing the superficiality of a system that promotes standardization and mediocrity and too often hypocrisy. Like McMurphy, they become outlaws against a system that quickly labels their behavior as irrational before they can expose it for what it is. While most of us are not outlaws, most of us really like outlaws. Maybe it's their soul, their spirit, their willingness to take risks, their rebelliousness, their disdain for the common, the mundane, the trivial, the inert. Randall Patrick McMurphy is the hero of Ken Kesey's novel. Some even say a Christ figure. Outlaw Randall Patrick McMurphy was lobotomized. Uncommon teachers, National Writing Project teachers, are thinkers and free spirits. We need them. Thinkers and free spirits create institutional chaos. Smooth and safe and steady and secure cries institutional policy in the face of life's ambiguities. Kill the spirit, lobotomize the McMurphys. And institutional policies do, unless challenged by uncommon teachers. So I refused to put a youngster into that poison ivy and syringe needles. The day before the game, I bought dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of baseballs. The system, they supplied me with 1 dozen for the entire season. That's why we're ordered to place a uniformed player in the woods, to conserve the budget. So I bought my own baseballs, just as I bought my own pens and pencils and books for my English students. At game time, the umpire ordered me to place my player in the woods. Well, first, I tried to explain why I would not. He was a dad. Attempting to use his sense of fatherhood to move him, I tried to tap into his imagination. Imagine a dad coming to watch his son play, being a bit disappointed he wasn't starting, but then not seeing him on the bench even, but sitting amid the urban blight and debris in foul territory. He didn't buy it. Folks who believe in the institution over the individual have no imagination. Institutionalization, I believe, eviscerates thought and compassion and empathy. A rule is a rule, but can't you see up it's a bad rule? No matter. It's so much easier to fall back on absolutes than to make moral decisions. He pointed in that umpire manner, and I thought he was going to throw me right out of the game before the first pitch when he snarled, "Play ball," with the warning that the game would end as soon as I was out of baseballs. As fate would have it, more balls were hit down that first base foul area than anyone could remember. With each foul shot, the umpire grunted. I'd reach into my ball bag, pull out a shiny sphere, rub some dirt on it, toss it to the umpire. He'd glare, smirk, place it in the bag. Another foul, another ball, another glare, another smirk. As the game went on, the fouls continued, so did the new balls. The glares grew, but the smirks diminished, making the glares even more menacing. Inning after inning, this game within a game went on. My kids watching. Coach reaching into a bottomless bag, umpire angrily squeezing us on every close play, coach ignoring the inequities, kids observing, saying nothing. We lost. But we played differently that day. No silliness. Teddy controlled his bladder. We lost a ton of baseballs, Coach. I don't care about the baseballs. Then as I gathered the equipment to load into my van, I noticed every single player head for the woods on the other side of that cyclone fence, Teddy leading. I slowed my gait, fiddled with the equipment in the van, took my time changing my shoes, and I watched in awe as uniforms scurried through the woods, bending over like potato farmers, their hands tossing aside Budweiser cans, brush, ivy, shopping carts, rags of clothing, syringes, all kinds of crap, finding many baseballs, some easily, some requiring a bit more digging. Boyer had taken off his uniform top to use as a ball bag. The harvest done, Teddy led the team back to my van, balls tied in shirts and resting in gloves. Of course, I barked at them. "You guys never listen to a thing I say." Teddy countered, "Coach, how can we play for a coach with no balls?" Boyer, he handed over his load and he quietly said, "Coach, you're a different type of teacher. Man, you're a little crazy." That's it, uncommon teachers, that's it. Different and crazy, I think that's it. I took it as an uncommonly high compliment. Uncommon teachers are crazily different. They are crazy enough to wade against the current of an institution that too often fails to see the value of personalization, love, trust, teaching for deep understanding to the whole child, of being engaged in the constant process of becoming. They are crazy enough to pledge their loyalty to the child over the institution, even if it means clashing with that policy. They are crazy enough to accept crazy as a compliment, because teachers crazy enough to think they can make a difference in a child's life are the ones who do. Thanks.